So I'm here with Loren Simons from Canon USA and their gorgeous DI suite in Burbank. This suite is amazing. You can do all sorts of tests and color corrections, but today we're gonna look at our raw footage. We shot raw 5.9K to a codex with the Canon C700 full frame camera at night, very little light. We're taking a look at its color reproduction, its noise structure, and really trying to see what we can get out of this raw footage.
So we're looking at the 5.9K raw footage right now in Cinema Raw development. So this is our preview software that's really great. It can do transcodes from the raw, so I can see not only sort of camera settings, but also sort of the exact image that you were seeing on set. If we don't want to work with the raws directly because of maybe processing power or storage issues, we can go in here and we can actually go to the export configurations and we can set up export options. So we can actually debayer this raw footage using Canon's debayer algorithm and select multiple different file types. So we can do uncompressed 16-bit DPXs, we can do OpenEXR for ASUS workflows, or we can do the more popular ProRes Quad 4 or ProRes 422 HQ files.
And which look are we looking at right now?
So right now what we're looking at actually is an ASUS 709 look. It knows what footage it's received. It knows that it's the Canon C700 full frame, and it will actually apply the proper IDT and then the proper ODT to give us to the ASUS 709 space.
For those who maybe don't use ASUS or don't know what it is and they want to kind of do it in a more simplified way, do you have a way of adding a LUT?
So we'll just take Resolve out of the ASUS mode and basically land it in the DaVinci YRGB mode. And then we would simply just go to a node and add a LUTs. And we actually have our LUTs available on our website. So I'll just simply click this on. And there you go.
Oh, wow, that looks great.
Yeah, and it's very poppy. So it's beautiful. You've got nice gradation in the shadows and the midtones, and the highlights are very well protected.
Yep. And we haven't even touched this anymore with grading. And what I love about this is that we didn't light it at all. We put them underneath the fluorescent light out in Chinatown, and it looks gorgeous. That's great.
And what ISO was this at? Do you remember?
No.
Well, that's okay. So we'll jump into our Cinema Raw development software, and 800 ISO. So this was 800 ISO, but with 2 stops of ND.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting thing. We can actually see how much ND you had in there.
And the reason why we added ND was because we wanted to open up the lens almost wide open to really give it that shallow depth of field.
Yeah, and what lenses were these?
Canon K35, so from the 70s, gorgeous, beautiful vintage lenses.
If we had lenses with like Kokai technology, or if this was an EF mount C700, we would have been able to see that aperture rating.
So we shot in RAW. We shot 2 codecs in RAW 5.9K. I want to see why. Why should someone shoot in RAW with this footage?
One of the things would be white balance. So white balance is not baked in when you're shooting RAW because it's not an actual RGB image. The fact that it's just raw, there's no compression. If you were to sort of cycle an A and B of a raw and a compressed image, you're gonna have sharper, more detail in the raw image because it just goes through less processing.
So in some of these shots, we deliberately pushed the ISO pretty high. I think on this one in particular, we were well above 10,000. Can we take a look at that and see how we can bring it back to life?
So this clip right here is actually 16,000 ISO.
Wow.
Usually what I like to aim for is intervals of 800. So 800 ISO, 1600, 3200, 6400, and 12,800. At those intervals, we're applying analog voltage. So we're actually not doing any sort of digital lift. It's right on the sensor, column amplification. It's before the analog to digital conversion. So it's very, very unique, and it gives us this sort of living grain versus this fixed pattern digital amplification gain.
Yeah.
But there is something that we also have to consider that I'm not used to with our cameras, is that this is a 5.9K image. It's being super sampled. We're squeezing this 5.9K down to 4K, so you're getting a better sort of pixel averaging. It's more pixels in one area, so it's going to perform better.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, there's that one look where she looks, boom. This whole area is pretty dope.